Awesome.
Well,
So what's the plan? Shall we go through some stuff?
Shall we
Or
move
absolutely.
into it?
Go
Yeah.
through and really summarize what we've covered the last 3 weeks, because you've given some amazing stuff. And I think often as time goes on, there's one topic and then one. Be really good to encapsulate it, simplify it. I know you told me about this, what you teach about this weekend, which I think is fabulous, is really if you're starting from absolute scratch, how do you create an income from nothing and build something? And I thought that's a great thing. And really giving a bit of an idea of what you mean by that and what's involved and what will be covered, and then really how the last 3 weeks ties in with all of that, because no doubt it does. And it wasn't just some random joyful experience that we did the last 3 weeks.
Yeah. We're not here to waste time, are we, Warren? That's
Absolutely
the
not.
precious thing we
Not
have.
when you're a pole dancer. Pole dancers can't waste time. We're poor.
I love that. I think, just to kind of set the scene, and you did, Warren, you kicked it off beautifully. And, I think every session that we've done, because it's in every session that we do speak about what's going on up here. And we are programmed 100%. I think it's only, I was just putting an email together today, actually, to go out. And it speaks about this in the sense of you have to remember what we're taught. And we're taught it from a really young age. We're taught not to go too far out of line, walk too far ahead. Don't be too big. Don't be too loud. Don't be too much. Don't be too shiny. Don't get too big for your boots. Like, we're literally taught that from being young girls, young boys. And so when we're trying to tap into who we truly are and what we truly desire, and the fact that we're so unique and that we can add value, yeah, it's fucking hard because we got taught not to. It's really hard. We were taught not to go there, not to look there, not to play there. But that's exactly where we need to play. And that's exactly why we need to reprogram, which, as Jen said, what we hear, what we witness, what we experience. That's how we reprogram this thing. So I just think what we want to kind of do tonight, Jen and I were chatting, is we want to zoom out a little bit, because remember the first session, we're going to zoom out, because often we get so caught up in the weeds and so caught up in doing all the stuff that we don't do what matters, that then we look up and 10 years has passed and we're like, what happened? And so we need to go, okay, not this next 10 years. How are we going to make this one different? And so zooming out to go, hold on, what are the pieces that we need to look at? And then remember, zoom in and do the work on the pieces that matter. So as you said, Warren, we kind of just want to piece it together. I know for me, and I think Jen's the same, we love like simplification. Like we know that there is, marketing machines that want to keep us all confused so that we keep buying what we need to and keep trapped in the cycle of confusion and all the rest of it. But we're just not here for it. It's like, let's learn what we need to learn, implement what we need to implement, become who we need to become, and then move on to the next thing. Because once we get the money out of the way, let's get the money stuff done, so then we can go do all the good, big, juicy stuff that we want to do in this world and in our life. So, Jen, I'm just going to share my screen if there's anything that you want to kind of add to that, and I'll just get this up.
No, all good. You get it up. I'm just going to come on and off mute. I've got a bit of background noise. Just tell me if it's too noisy.
All good.
Not sure how much the mic picks up.
Yeah, all good. So, ladies, I've got a question for you. Work with us in the chat here. Who is not even just ready, because ready's a decision. It's not a feeling. Like, everyone's like, I'm going to wait till I'm ready. Ready's just a decision. But
You're never ready.
You're never ready. But
Yeah.
are you courageous enough to take the cap off? Like the limiting stuff off, like stop capping your potential, capping your income, capping your brilliance, capping your ideas, all of that stuff, because that's what's needed to go the path that we're about to show you and create your own income in your own way to be able to reach financial independence. So hopefully we got some yeses. If we've got some no's, I'd probably just jump off, have dinner, spend your precious time, doing something else. Of course.
That's the thing, one thing I want to throw in. You'd rather have like there's 20 on this live webinar. I know that someone's recording, but you'd rather have 20 women who are serious about changing their life than have 100,000 women where only one is. That's how I see it. And it takes work and action to change your life. You know that. I mean, you two, didn't suddenly get, as pretty and as gorgeous as you are. You didn't suddenly get rich by being, and prosperous by being trophy wives. You got up there by doing the work and by putting in the effort. That's why I admire you and did this program with you. You got to get off your ass and do stuff.
Yeah.
That's exactly it, Warren. And, I think we would all rather work with the woman who decides that she is going to design her own life and do what it takes to get there. Because in doing so, in all of us doing that, we become the evidence for other women to see. We become the lighthouse to show what's possible. And someone has to go first. Someone has to have the guts. Someone has to have the work ethic. Someone has to do the thing. And when I say work ethic, it's not even as hard as we think it's going to be. And we can find so much joy and fun in the process. Seriously, we're like, you look at Warren, he shows up out of the surf with crazy hair, and Nick and I don't have a single day where we're basically not in hysterics, just laughing at something. That it's so much fun when you find this space that you can be, and it's really just sad to watch people stuck in this place, kind of even below clarity, that's on this first slide, where it's like just swimming in an ocean that we've been told to swim in, but we don't know why we're swimming there with it, and feeling like a little bit of drowning and a little bit of suffocating, and sometimes getting our head above water and going, oh, look at that beautiful sunset, and then down we go and a big wave hits us and we get tumbled. I think we all know what it's like. What? So funny we're talking about this, Warren, because I don't know, did you just get tumbled by a wave? Like that feeling, right, when that wave hits you and it's like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to survive this one. I'm rolling around, and then you get back up and it's like, whoa. And most people are just feeling trapped underwater. And this is not the life that we're meant to live. And it's purely our life is what we dream about. Our life is what we think about. What we focus on expands. What we think about, we bring about. It just is the way it is. The problem is we think it needs to be hard. We think it needs to be difficult. We think it needs to be a struggle. We think we should only earn $80,000 a year. We think if we earn more than that, oh my gosh, we need to turn into a different person. We need to become a greedy asshole, blah, 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 blah. And it's all lies. Money can come so easily. It really can. Well, once we learn all of these lessons. So the tracks, these are the tracks. And these are the levels that we need to get clear on, and the levels that we need to work through. And we want to become financially independent. So when life throws shit at us, when shit hits the fan, and I hope, touch wood, for me, for all of you, it doesn't. But the chances of shit not hitting the fan at some point, I think is probably pretty teeny. And it certainly has hit. Shit has certainly hit the fan for me on several occasions, and I see it hitting the fan for many, and their only option is a GoFundMe. And I don't know how that's okay, and I don't know how that's become the norm and the standard, that we live our whole life and we only ever have enough, create enough, earn enough, save enough, so that when shit hits the fan, we have to start a GoFundMe and basically beg for help.
Or OnlyFans.
Exactly. Another great.
As soon as you've got your account ready, you need.
I've got my account ready.
I'm ready. I'm ready to jump on. Number one fan.
Like, what's okay about that? What is okay about this? And then we get into this conversation, right, of lowering our standards. We keep on lowering them and lower. And then what happens with the GoFundMe? We just got to hope some masses of people are going to be generous enough to give us their last $20 that they had for the week, and enough people do that, and then we might survive to get through this And it's when shit hits the fan, the last thing we want to worry about is our finances. If we need to grieve, we want to grieve. If we need to focus on our health, we need to focus on our health. If we need to fly to the US and get special treatment, we need to do that. We don't want to be scraping together. If our house gets blown away in a tornado, we don't want to be like, oh my gosh, I can't afford a generator. That's just not okay. And if some of us don't take stand, then it will just be the norm. So we get to go first, and we get to have a whole lot of fun doing it, and we get to build a whole lot of crazy cool relationships, and it's where the magic really is. So Nick, do you want to talk through these levels?
I love that. Yeah, so as you said, like these are the tracks. So it's one of those things, like if you're going to take a screenshot or you're going to take a memory shot, because remember, we want to lean on principles. We want to lean on, hold on, when the cloudy confusion comes, let me remember. These are the tracks to run on. And it doesn't matter where you are right now. It matters that where you go. Like, this is where we're going, right? So whether you're just like, oh, I've gotten clarity now, right? We did our financial independence. We spoke about that in this series. Or maybe you're at growth, or maybe you're at sovereign, or maybe you're at soul's purpose and you're not even tapping into your soul's purpose. So it doesn't matter where you are. It matters where you go from here now. So as we're going through here, I think one of the key things to remember is back in session 1. So when I think about this for myself, remember the whole thing, when we know why we do it, we bring ourselves on board with getting it done. When we don't know why, we don't have the emotional connector. So we spoke in that session 1 about why financial independence is imperative for women, why we are the ones that need to create this in our own way and create this for ourselves. 1, so that we reduce our dependence and increase our control. That's being a sovereign individual. Like, until we tap into that, we're not sovereign. We're reliant. We're dependent. It's for better health. It's for better communities. It's for better education. There's so many reasons. It's like, as Jen said, and maybe think about that, like your anchor points are really important as you run these tracks. Because think of it like track running, actually. You're probably going to trip. Right? There's going to be stumbles. And so we need an anchor point of, why am I getting up? Go. Why? Why do I need to? So these are just really important. The game is, and you can see where we put the circle around, is to get to sovereign level and then soul's purpose. Because this is when the money's taken care of. And this is where all of those undesirable and crappy workplaces, or the work that you're doing, or the people that you're around, or the choices that you're making, or whatever it might be, it's like you no longer play there. They no longer control you. And the soul's purpose, I don't want to like give it away too much, but we have met beautiful Monique, who you ladies are going to meet on Saturday, and she's 29, and she is so inspiring. And she's so far beyond her years. And the stuff that she's done, literally just in 10 years, most people wouldn't do in their lifetime. And she's tapped into soul's purpose. She's tapped in, ready to go, making it happen. And it's incredible. And it's also proof, right? Remember, we always need proof. Well, when you see a 29-year-old doing it, there's your proof. It's so cool. So we're going to leave that for Saturday. But first one we want to click on is, like, always remember, these are the tracks. This is where we're going. This is how we're going to change the world. And first, your world. So once you've got the tracks, then we need the game. It's like, how do we play this game then? What's the way to speed it up? So the thing I'll touch on here, and Jen, I know you love to speak to this one as well, is remember, so the question is, how do we speed up the path on those tracks? Well, the answer's in increasing, or changing the type of income we earn, but increasing our recurring income. Because when we increase recurring income, we increase the most precious resource we want back, which is time. We buy our time back because we stop trading it. We stop selling it. We're always capped when we do that. I don't know about you, but I can't squeeze out any more than 24 hours in a day. It's fact. It's done. That's it. Nowhere to go. So when we increase the recurring income, we speed up the track, we speed up the path on there. So this is the game. How do we move from left to right? This is it. How do we do? I call it the big swing. I always say to ladies, I'm like, we're going to do the big swing, because this is what we do with our ladies in our program, because it can take time. It won't happen overnight, but we've got to do the big swing. And the swing is selling the only resource you're taught to sell in the system that programs you, which is your time, for the resource you want. Money, we're only taught to sell that one for 40 years until the big man takes us. Nah, we're doing a big swing, and we're going to find out what you love. We're going to find out what you're great at. We're going to find out your gift factor and how you help people and add value to the world. And then you're going to sell that. And that's when you tap into the uncapped size. And that's when we can open up leverage. So we're swinging, right? Only selling our time for the resource of money to selling something that we love for the resource of money. Like, that's a zoom out. Jen, you go the zoom in approach.
Well, I don't really know how to add to that. I've never heard you explain it like that before. That's good.
Yeah, I'm into the big swing now. I don't know, it must have dropped in my dreams or something. I was like, we're just battle up. Yeah.
I love the big swing, because see that vertical line? It's actually not a skinny line. That's like, it's actually like a lead wall. It feels like a lead wall anyway, which is why most people don't go from the left to the right. And this is the one page that completely changed everything in my head, and completely changed how I look at everything in the world, and realized exactly what you said. We're just taught to trade time for money, and that's our only option. And 95% of people do that and share 5% of the wealth on the left-hand side of the quadrant. So once you know that, it kind of becomes non-optional to figure out, to learn how to get onto the right-hand side of the quadrant. But it takes some courage, it takes some work, it takes some willingness to unlearn all of those years of programming and to let go of them, to create space for some new learning, which is very different. And once we learn what we need to do to sit on the right-hand side of the quadrant and become a business owner or an investor, and we can't be an investor unless we have extra money to invest. But as a business owner, we're tapping into recurring income and leveraged income. And we can, so one of my businesses that creates $20,000 a week, this week, I've had no time for it. I've just had other stuff happening. But on Monday, it's still going to pay me $20,000. You know, and so that's where we want to get. So if stuff comes up in our life, that business is still doing its thing, because the systems are set up. The people are set up. It's just rolling over without us. And that's when Nick talked about on the previous slide, like becoming sovereign. It's all okay if a tornado comes, it's okay, because we've diversified. We've created a return on other assets other than our time, from other places other than exactly where we happen to be sitting in this moment. And imagine if they taught us this in school. Imagine the different lives that people would live.
Yeah.
Okay,
so we've got the tracks, we've got the game that we've got to be on the court to play, and then we've got the method. And this is the Women to Wealth method. This is the zoomed out, piece by piece. What do we put in order? How do we get this thing moving? So you create your own income in your own way. We work out what's your next thing going to be, not your last thing, just your next thing. And then we repeat it and you repeat it, and it evolves and it evolves. But this is the method that we help women really step through. And I think, as you said, Jen, I think a big part of this method is what they need to unlearn first, and then learn and become and put these pieces in place. And I guess there's two options. We either do go it alone, so snapshot this, because if you try and skip one of these pieces, the hole in this will haunt you forever. I tried. I was just like, just get me to the strategy. Just give me like the thing and I'll just go about it. It's like, you can't. We have to put these pieces in order and get them working. And so we're going to go through these a little bit and explain what they mean so they make sense for you. And then you can work out, oh yeah, that's actually where my gap is. Or I've never seen it lined up like that before with how you create your money in your own way. Everyone's telling you that you can, you can, you can. But a lot of women that we speak to, they don't know what to focus on, where to start, what they could do. And honestly, the world is just distracting them so much that we're not focusing on the things that matter. Like I was explaining today, it's pitch black now, but I have all of these beautiful trees like out in front of me that I'm always looking at when I'm on calls. And I think of the women who I'm speaking with, and the feel that I get from them is they're like this flimsy tree. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's just like they're just going to get blown. Like they're just doing this in life, this way, that way. I'll try that. I'll go there. Shit, nah. Like it's like this, right? And it probably can feel like that. And it's like, no, we need to focus on the right things and really grow your roots. Grow like who you are. Make sure you're solid. Make sure you have the right pieces in place so that you can withstand everything and so that you can grow in the way that you actually need to. And so I just want to say, as we go through this, I don't think you can skip them. I don't think you can skip any of these pieces. So let's go through the first ones, take a screenshot of this, and we'll just explain the method to you. And on Saturday is where we're going to dive in a little bit more with actual how-to trainings of it. I would say, Jen, I think what could be helpful is if we say, like, let you ladies know what most women are missing in each of these. So it's like, oh yeah, clarity. But what I find with the women that we help is, and you know, because you're on the call, you have a feeling of that there is more for you. You know you want different, you know you want more, you know you are made for more. It's like you want more, you can feel it. It probably keeps you up at night. What women miss here is they have the feeling of wanting more, but they don't know what that more looks like. We need to know what it looks like. We need a target. Remember in session 1, we're like, where are we right now? Where do we need to go? We need so much clarity on that because your target, where you need to go, is different to where I need to go, right? It is different, but we need clarity on that so that we can start making decisions. Because the key to this one is we're designing that path, because if we don't, we have to default to be the receiver of what we're given. But the biggest step is, a lot of women, it's a feeling of wanting more, but not true clarity, because we need two things. We need clarity on the vision, because that's a manifestation magic. And then we need clarity on the plan, because that's the to-do, the execution magic. Can't have one and not the other. So Jen, anything, I feel like that's a big thing that misses in that clarity piece. And I think also the nails that we speak about, the anchor points.
Yeah, this is huge, and two things get in the way of this. So firstly, in the vision of like, what does more look like? What does an ideal life look like? That is a struggle for a lot of people and for a lot of women, because it's like all the stuff comes up, all of the ceilings, the old programming, all of the stories, they come up when we start to dream of this ideal life. Because the reason is, you think about it, as a kid, whenever we went to our mum and dad, or whenever we went to the teacher and we said, oh, I think I'm going to do this, or I think I'm going to be this, what's the first thing that they said to us? They said, well, how? And then we probably couldn't think of how, because how could a child possibly know how? And automatically, when we think of a bigger life, of a magical life, of a life filled with more, we go straight to the question, well, how? And because we can't see the how, we put the idea to bed, we bury it, we lose it, we just let the dream die right then and there. The thing that is true is no one knows the how. We can't possibly know the how. So anyone who's ever achieved their ideal life knows that the how is like, imagine you're going to climb up the stairs to a mountain or climb up the trail, the pathway to a mountain. And most times mountains are covered in a cloud, right? Because they're a mountain and they're covered in fog. And so when you look up, you can't see the top of the mountain. And so what I see is so many women waiting to see the top of the mountain before they say, right, now I see it, I'm going to go. And so they never go because they can never see the top of the mountain because it's covered in a cloud, because that's the nature of the mountain. We've never been there, so we can't know what's there. And if we knew how to get there, we would have already done it. So of course we don't know how. But what we do know and what we can see is the first 10 steps. And you know what happens when you walk into the fog. You step 10 steps into the fog, right? And what happens then? You can see the next 10 steps. And you step into those 10 steps and you can see the next 10 steps. And that's how the whole journey to our ideal life rolls out. And the reason people don't start the journey to their ideal life is because they put their how to bed because they see the fog and just think, well, I can't see how. And there's so much we can do to move past all of that. And we just need someone to hold our hand who's already done the journey and to say, yeah, you can do this. Let's figure out the next 10 steps. Now you're there. Awesome. Let's figure out the next 10 steps. Now you're there. Awesome. Let's figure out the next 10 steps. And who cares if it takes 5 years? Who cares if it takes 10 years? Because the next 5 years or 10 years is going to pass anyway, right? And you have a choice. You're either going to be halfway up the mountain, all the way up the mountain, or you're just going to be sitting exactly where you are because you were so desperate to see the whole pathway up the mountain before you took the first step, which is what 95% of people do, which is why they stay on the left-hand side of the quadrant and they don't have the courage to do the big swing and get over to the right-hand side. Okay, so Nick, I think that's a little bit about the clarity. I mean, there's so much more that we teach and that we go into, like the how of getting the clarity and how to stay in the clarity and all of that sort of stuff is all a process as well that we need to understand. But we don't have enough time tonight, obviously, to do everything.
Yeah. So let's go. Okay, the gift factor. So this is the second piece of the puzzle that we've got to put together. And I want you to consider something. So I want you to consider that there's actually many things in your life that you know, that you've mastered, that you're great at, that you've experienced, that is so incredibly valuable to someone else. And these could be natural, like these could be God-given talents, or these could be developed skills because of your experience, because of what you've had to go through, because of the path that you've taken so far. And these things, they come from so many things. They come from the experience, but they could come from hardship. They could come from hitting rock bottom. They could come from triumphs. They could come from like hitting just the most amazing goal. They could come from so many different things, whether it's victories or whether it's down and out moments. There's stuff that you've gone through. And I always think of the principle, Nick, if it's personal, it's universal. Which means, okay, hold on. If I've experienced that, if I needed to know that, if I had to do that, not the only one, someone else did too. And that's part of your gift factor. So sometimes we get caught up thinking, well, she's doing that. Maybe I'll try that. I need to go over there. I need to go over there. We're looking outside of ourselves. We believe everything you need is in you because you have it. You were given it. You've experienced it. Your life is not here to not mean something. The stuff that you know, someone else wants to know. And it is usually the stuff that you just don't recognize. And that's the challenge that women miss here. They skip this. They don't see it because they don't value themselves enough to understand that they have value to add. You do. You have it. It's all in you. It's usually the easiest thing you'll monetize next. But it's hard to see yourself. Like often we need the mirror, right? Like, you know, those people in your life that, and we all need them, that they see more greatness in us than we see in ourselves. They see the thing that we just keep ignoring. So the hardest part is recognizing it and then actually accepting it, that you've got something of value. There's a way you do something. There's things that you've done. There's a purpose for them. Now, again, it's not always the thing that you'll monetize first. It usually is. It's usually the path because it feels easier, and that's where you'll find joy, and that's where you'll find, oh my God, this feels good. I know how to do that. So we've got to really tap into you and stop. You got to stop tapping out with all this stuff out here. We've got to like tap in, because you'll be able to work out what it is that you can create and what that looks like. So this is a really big part of what women go through with us. And you know what? Sometimes it can click in like that. It's like, oh my God, I knew it. Because it's a mix of our skill sets. It's a mix of our joy sets. They're not passions. Like joy sets aren't passions, because passion can it's fleeting. It'll be here, it'll be gone. It's like, what lights you up on Saturday, you might not feel great about on Monday. So joy sets are a little bit different. And then it's got to be problems that we solve. Because one principle Jen and I will always lean on is it has to be about you, but it can't be all about you. So the gift factor is about you, but then we turn it and go, so how does it solve a problem for someone else? Because it's not about you. And that's the magic of the gift factor. So that is a key piece of the puzzle, which will make all of the options, I don't know where to start, what to do, what I could do, so much easier to choose. And we've got to choose. Jen, you tapped into it before, but just choosing and starting is the key with something. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Awesome. And then next one along is one of our faves, which we'll just touch on briefly here. And I think, Nick, we might touch on more on Saturday.
Yeah, we'll dive into it on Saturday because there's a bit of detail.
Yeah, so we kind of talked about this, how we really think about the one resource that we have that's valuable is our time. And so most of us are taught in school to sell our time. To get a job means go sell your time. And a little bit of that involves skill. So get a skill that is more value to go sell your time. So my mum and dad always taught me, get a qualification. So you always have something to fall back to, but also you can sell your time for a little bit more than if you didn't get a qualification. So off I went to university for 4 years, full time, to have 3 part-time jobs to pay my way through uni. So they could come out and earn 50,000, trade 40 hours a week to earn $50,000 a year. And kind of that went up and got capped out about 100. So time, I think we're all really familiar with having the resource of time. We're familiar with having skills, and different skills get paid at different rates. The other resource that we have is money. So the point of this is your circumstances matter. So some women who come into our program have $1 million, but they have no time. And they might have no business skills. Maybe, maybe they've inherited $1 million, but no time, no business skill, and no business skills. Other women have no money, but maybe they're working part-time, so they have a couple of days a week of time. Some have all of these skills that they're not even recognizing that they have because they don't think there's value in those skills. But when we do an audit, we can say, look at all these skills that you have. And skills come not only from work, but as Nick said, from life experiences. The shit that's happened to us, we survived, and that gave us a skill set. And again, I hope you can come on Saturday, because you're going to hear from Monique and all the skills that she's gained from the stuff that's happened in her life. It's just incredible. And she has stories to share as well. And then we have a network, and we all have different types of networks according to the life that we've lived today. Some people have 2 friends. Some people have hundreds of influential friends who they have a lot of influence over. And then our energy, and this is the one that I think is so taken for granted and people don't understand on a lot of levels. So our health, if we don't optimize our health, we can't optimize any other part of our life. But also we have an energetic vibration. And our energetic vibration is giving our instructions to God, source, or universe, whatever it is that you believe. But it's like radio waves going out. Our thoughts are creating vibrations, and the world can only reflect back at us what we're sending out. So if we want to send out, oh, poor me, oh, shit always happens, oh, I never get a park, oh, if it's going to go wrong, it's going to go wrong to me, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, I kind of see a line, and there's like below the line vibration, and there's above the line vibration. And above the line vibration, joy, happiness, excitement, anticipation, those vibrations are going to make my life better. Below the line vibrations are just like a downhill spiral, and it's just going to keep bringing me more of what I don't really want. But if we're not aware of this, then how do we change it? How do we get out of it? Because we are giving energetic instructions, whether we like it or not. It's just happening. The problem is we're mostly not aware of it, and we have all this old programming on autopilot. So imagine we think rich people are assholes. Why is money ever going to come to us in huge amounts? If we actually believe rich people are assholes, and that's what we're vibrating out, because if we're vibrating out, rich people are assholes and I don't want to be an asshole, well, then God, source, universe is not going to deliver us more money, because that would make us an asshole. You just told me you don't want to be an asshole. And so we kind of F it up all the time. So this whole concept of energy, and there's so much we can do. We can optimize our circumstances. We all have different circumstances, and we need to do an audit, and then we can figure out where we're leaking some of our resources, and figure out where we can more leverage our resources, and we can really play the game as it's meant to be played, to create the magic that is available to all of us. Yeah. Want to add to that, Nick?
No, that's perfect. And I think, as you said, like, let's dive into it with like, the how-tos and how to look at it on Saturday, because it is a really key piece. Like, it's so important. And I think with all of these, as they link together, and they do, if you feel like you've always been, you get, stuck in the confusion side, or you just don't know what option, like, because this is the next one, right? How do we do it? Like, there's so many paths to get to our goal. But when we understand these pieces, they do help direct you. They help guide you. They help dial it in so that you can decide and get going. And this one, the how, it is a big part of it. We got to get there at some point and choose. But I mean, this is the most simple way to think of it. They may work out that it's like, I want to open this bakery. I always just say the bakery because I don't know. I just love carbs, I guess. I love bread and love all of that. So I think of bakeries. Beautiful. Love the smell. Love it. Oh, it's so good. And that could be the dream of someone. That's where they want to end up. But it may not be the first step, because that bakery, there's things to consider in the how bit. Like, what is the startup cost? How much time will it take? What skills are required of me? So when we're looking at the options, when we know the right question to ask, we get the answer we need to guide the decision that we can make. It's that simple. So we just sometimes need help. We all do. We need help, just like, hold on, dial this in for me. What are my options? And businesses fall under just two categories. There's done for you businesses, and there's do it yourself businesses. But depending on where you're going, right? Clarity, how your gift factor locks in, and then how your circumstances are right now and what we can maximize, it does help dial it down and go, that's a first next step. We're going to start that one first. Let's get that plate spinning. Let's get that cash flow engine going, because that's going to be a stepping stone to opening your dream bakery. Because sometimes there's a stepping stone there, right? We said the big swing. Sometimes we've got to take a couple of swings to knock down the wall. So it's like, that's the first step. We've got to start the journey. So the how is in, we help women break down and understand business models, what they're going to cost, what skill set they require, how much time it's going to need from you, all of that, so that you can choose and go, yep, that makes sense. I can see the first 10 to 15 steps. Let's get them done. Oh, now the next ones appear. Yep, let's get those done. So that is really important. And we sometimes just need help dialing it all down. Yeah. Okay, last two.
Yep. So next one's really just business fundamentals, understanding that what do we need to do to scale, and what do we need to do to get it running without us, and what do we need to do to get sales pumping? What do we need to do to increase revenue? And they're just really fundamental business principles again, which I think some women for sure are running, multi-million-dollar a year businesses, and other women we see a lot of women giving a business a go, but just not understanding the fundamental principles. And when you do, it's like all of these things, once you see it, you can't unsee it. You will look at everything differently, and you will look at people differently. Like when I meet someone, I'm just looking at them in terms of like, of course, who they are and how big is their heart and their values and all of that stuff that we typically look at and we typically see, whether we're doing it consciously or unconsciously, we are doing that. But I'm also getting excited for them because I see their potential in terms of those 5 key resources. I'm seeing, all of like what they could create if they just understood how to stop the leakage and get those levers cranking. And they could get out of their pain and into their pleasure and all the time. And so, so the fifth one is really about just knowing those fundamental business principles. And then I think the last one is our favorite, because it's really about knowing that if we were born in a first world country as a woman in this time in history, we really kind of nailed it. And it's like we're already at the 80-meter mark in the 100-meter race compared to being born at another time in history as a woman, or being born in a third world country. Like we're ready to go, and the race starts, and we're starting at the 80-meter mark, and we've only got to get to 100. And so we love this because it means when we learn these things, we finish the race and we turn around and we give a hand up. And that's what drives Nick and I every day to work with the women that we want to work with, because we get to earn 7 figures a year and have 40 hours a week that we're in control of. And we want to sit at a table with incredible women who are in exactly that same situation with $1 million a year and 40 hours a week, because we believe, and imagine we have 10 women at a table, 100 women, 1,000 women sitting at that table. We will fix the world. We will make the world a better place, because we will say, right, we have the time, we have the money, let's go, ladies. And so that's our mission, that's our vision, that's what we do, and that's what we absolutely know that we're going to do. And of course, we really hope that some of you would join us on that journey and start by coming along on Saturday. And we know that you're our kind of lady just because you hang out in Warren's space, and you wouldn't be. I think we all know he's a special kind of guy, right? And Warren, we are so grateful for you and for everything that you bring and who you are. Crazy surf hair, pole dancing, and all. It's something we all laugh about, but it's what.
That's gold. I love it, Jen. Thank you.
But truly, it's
Thank
what
you,
makes.
I think.
No, it's what makes you real. It's what makes you, you have all of your genius and all of your smarts and all of your qualifications and all of the amazingness you do, but you still stand in your power and say, here's who I am. I'm going to do what brings me joy. And we need so much more of that in the world.
Oh, look, thank you so much. Look, I like what John DeMartini said, Jen, about that, which I think really helped, because I went through my times in my life where I kind of try to conform. I grew up in a family that was big on conform. Like my mom was like the ultimate, definition of conforming, loved the idea of conforming, did everything possible. And I tried to conform, and I got very miserable. I had mental health. I had all kinds of stuff. The one thing that helped me not conform was, I do have a bit of an out there personality, which naturally pushes back. But I found meaning in my life very early. I was bullied growing up when I was a kid. I had a crap lot of trauma to deal with, but I kind of also had a very rich dad, poor dad. I had a amazing uncle who was I grew up in a missionary family. Like my uncle and my aunt and my cousins are heroes, literally. Like they have just done unbelievable things in Cambodia, Rwanda, Vietnam, all over the world. And they kind of taught me faith and got me finding a faith very early on in my life. And so by the time I was 18, I had a very strong faith and meaning, and knew at the time I was 18, I made a bit of a commitment in the church I was in that I was going to devote my life to service and make a difference in my life. So once you get that, you very quickly start to, have a reason. And this is one of the things Stephen Pettit says. The reason people struggle so much in COVID and fell apart and frightened is they didn't have that faithful foundation. Whereas you meet people who've grown up in communist countries or come from a missionary background, there's a bit of a faith, there's a bit of a badass in you that's willing to die for your faith and what you believe in. And I very much, that missionary background has never left me. And when COVID happened and everything, even now, it's still in there, it's still in my bones, that says to make a difference. And when you have that in you, you don't care anymore what people think. You just don't, because you've got something in your heart and soul that drives you. And it doesn't mean you get moments when you hate feeling different, but you feel that desire to conform just to be liked and not be so different. But yeah, I love what Raymond Grace said and John DeMartini. They said, you got to live with yourself. Everyone else is a matter of choice. So basically, you're better off to piss off other people and piss yourself off, because if you wake up 25 years' time in your 70s and got no fucking money, you're going to look back and want to beat the shit out of your 30 or 40-year-old self, being really frank. Whereas the best time to take action is now and do something about it. Like, yeah, I mean, my life is good right now, but as much as I'd love to say a fairy godmother appeared to me and made it that way, and I'd love that to have happened, I didn't get any fairy godmother. I basically took action steps. And like Warren Buffett says, time in the market is better than trying to time the market. And the reason many people don't make money from investments, not even in there in the first place. Well, at least if you're in there, at least if you're running a business, you'll have a chance to make money when the crap hits the fan. And a good example I will share was last year, as you know, Jen, I had a major difficult year. It was a horrible year, worst year of my life. All my traumas and stuff from my partner's death 2 years ago all hit me at once. And, what helped was I was able to take 3 months completely off work to sort myself out, heal my trauma, and come back from the wilderness, so to speak. Because number one, I knew I had money there which could come in for me and no problem. And number two, I had that mindset and faith base. And what I always laugh about is that all my family and best friends are more worried about me than I was. I wasn't worried about myself in the slightest. So I was more frustrated with my life. So I love what you two are about, because I cannot say strongly enough, that you want to have fun and you want to be taking action and doing something about making your life better. So, who's coming to the event this weekend? Just sort of say yes in the chat if you're coming. If you're not, you need to be there. Like, need to make sure you're there, because not just these two amazing ladies, and they're extraordinary as it is, but they happened to meet Monique yesterday, and I got my ear bitten off because for not introducing me to Monique sooner, who basically is a bit of a missionary herself, is making a difference in Kenya with sex trafficking, and she's going to be teaching automated income online with funnels for people there as well. So yeah, you don't want to miss that. And fortunately, I've introduced them to Monique, because otherwise I think my life wouldn't be worth living anymore, because I think these two ladies would be very unhappy with me.
Yeah, she's amazing. I can't wait.
She is awesome. I love her to bits. I'm totally in love with Monique. What else can I say? She's just the best. And look, honestly, you two have been great. I so appreciate the fact you've turned up and done this and done this to help women, because even as I see it, even if we just had 30 or 40 at this event, and the 30 or 40 took action and changed their life, you're going to go out and change other people's lives. Because as you start to make money, it's very boring making money for yourself unless you're a psychopath, which sure, some of you are, and some of us are. And I probably do have that narcissistic psychopath tendency. But after a while, there's only so much narcissistic living you can do, and you want to start making a difference, and you will. So you'll find that you'll be joining the bandwagon soon, making a difference. And before we know it, Australia and the rest of the world won't have much choice but to lift their consciousness and get more prosperous, because there'll be so many amazing people out there. So that's just my comment for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, it's together we can create more and more magic really in the world, and the world needs that so much. And so I don't know why as women, we think we're going to be superwoman and we try so hard to do stuff alone, but no one has ever done anything alone. And it's when we just come together as a group and as a community that loves and cares for each other, and we help each other figure out how to get over the obstacles, because they will come, of course. When we walk up the mountain in the fog, we're going to trip, we're going to fall. There's going to be a big boulder. There's going to be like an avalanche occasionally. There's going to be crazy weather. All of that stuff is going to happen on our journey. And that's when we need our friends. We need our community. We need our safe cave to retreat to and to work through it. And that's how we get right up to the top. So yeah, excited, really excited for Saturday and for whatever is beyond that.
Oh, look, absolutely. Last thing is, just for those of you who are interested, straight after this, to continue this theme that will get you even more excited. So 2 last things. Firstly, yes, please post a link in the chat for those who aren't actually registered for the webinar. So to my team, just asked if to do that. Please register that in there if you could. Yep, and that's number 1. The second thing is, straight after this, in fact, you 2 ladies might be interested or you may not. I've got a friend called Daryl Grant from Our Internet Secrets, who would have to be another remarkable woman who she and her husband, Andrew, have built up some of the most successful internet events in the world. And I've done a number of JVs of them, probably made more money with them than just any other JV I've done. Very, very good at what they do. And I asked Daryl if she'd do a presentation for us, and she's very hard to get hold of. And to my delight, she's agreed. So it's been emailed out, but it's happening straight after this. So if anyone wants to basically come along to that one, it's just a free gift in line with the women's event. It's happening straight after this. So I'll just put the link in for that one there. So if you want to join in straight after this one, then you can come and have a listen. But yeah, trust me, this lady is good. She's probably the best copywriter I've ever seen. And you'll be impressed at this, Jen Nicole, one of the few women who literally has the right to boss me around. So
So good. Well, thank you so much, Warren, and thank you, ladies. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nick, as always. And we'll see you on Saturday.
Yeah, can't wait. Yep. Thank you, ladies. Thanks, Warren.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you. Bye, Ben.